Hey guys, happy Sunday. Glenn Calloway from the basement. This morning I was out for a drive with my son-in-law Ryan, and he had the radio on, FM radio, and I never listened to the radio. I can't remember the last time I heard a radio. And he had it on a local station out here. Would be a small station, but, formatted radio. 107.1, I don't even know what the call letters are. They normally play classic rock, that kind of stuff from what I understand. Anyway, this morning as we're driving along, I get in the car and they're playing this acoustic song. I can't remember what the first song was. Anyway, then they announce it and they go, Sunday morning, you're listening to acoustic classics or something like that, whatever they called it. And then the next song they play, Jimi Hendrix doing Hear My Train A-Comin'. Acoustic. Then they play, I think they played a Kinks acoustic song. Couldn't figure out what it was. I can't remember what it was. Then The Who, Happy Jack acoustic. If anybody knows if The Who has an album out of demos where some acoustic stuff like that is on it, let me know. Instant purchase for me. So I'm driving along, and as I'm driving, I'm trying to think of what to do for a video today, and got inspired by this radio show. And I thought, what was my introduction? Because the Happy Jack was my introduction to the Who. What was my introduction to a lot of bands? What was the first song I ever heard? What was the first time I ever heard their name? Whatever. So I pulled a few records, and just at random, going to talk about them. Let's talk about Bob Dylan. I'm just showing a random album just for something to hold up. It's my prop. First song I ever heard of Bob Dylan's was Blowin' in the Wind, but Peter, Paul, and Mary's version. That might have been 62 or 63. I don't think I really heard Bob Dylan sing a song that I can recall until the Byrds put out Mr. Tambourine Man. And then I went back and heard Dylan's version. And then, obviously, everything went crazy with Like a Rolling Stone and all that. And then I went back and bought the old albums and just became a Dylan freak. But it was Blowin' in the Wind. First time I ever heard the two words, Bob and Dylan. And the first song I ever heard, Blowin' in the Wind. These are at random. Black Sabbath. So the first Sabbath album, which is now like a classic, came out in 69, was not on my radar at all. And I don't know why, but none of my buddies or anything were into the first Sabbath album. We never heard of them until Paranoid came out in 1970. And the first track, War Pigs. Whoa, what a way to get introduced to a band. One of the great classic rock songs of all time. If you want to call it heavy metal, whatever, I just considered it classic rock. And love this album. War Pigs was my introduction to Sabbath. I hear this album has been reissued on a Rhino audiophile pressing or something. It's supposed to sound really good. I'd love to hear that. Next. Oh, these guys. The Beatles. 1964. I vividly remember my mom had a younger brother, my Uncle Ken. He was young enough that he used to listen to Top 40 radio. Chum AM, 1050 Chum was the station in Toronto, one of the major AM stations in North America. And that's what we used to listen to. They used to put a Chum chart every week, the top 50, and you'd run to the record store to get the free Chum chart, see what was number one, whatever. Anyway, I remember about a week before, I still remember the parking lot I was sitting in, downtown Toronto. I remember the store we were going to. We were on our way to a department store. I was with my Uncle Ken. I remember sitting in this parking lot in front of this department store on Jarvis Street in Toronto. It was an old Sears store. And come on the radio, the DJ kept talking about the Beatles. The Beatles are coming. The Beatles this, the Beatles that, the Beatles this. And I heard She Loves You, I think, was the first song I remember going, whoa, that's pretty cool. And then saw them in Ed Sullivan the following Sunday, and the rest is history. But I'm pretty sure She Loves You was the first one. 1968, 69, 70 were big years for underground FM radio. I mean, totally unformatted. The DJs were all cool, and they could play whatever the hell they wanted, and they did. And you heard some weird stuff. The only thing they were forbidden from playing was top 40 music. They would play all deep cuts and all weird stuff. I'm telling you, it was incredible. And Johnny Winter, 1968. It's My Own Fault, Darling. Treat Me the Way You Want to Do. Oh, my God. And then I got this album, Progressive Blues Experiment. Saw Johnny not long after that at Massey Hall when Edgar was still in the band. And, oh, incredible. What a great album. My favorite blues album, actually. Progressive Blues Experiment, Johnny Winter. Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones. Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest rock and roll band in the world, the Rolling Stones. Rolling Stones. First Stones song I ever heard was Not Fade Away, their version of the Buddy Holly track. I had no idea who Buddy Holly was, the 50s. I probably heard Buddy Holly songs but never really paid attention, I don't remember him dying. Too young for that probably. But I thought it was a Rolling Stones song. What do I know? And what I remember in the charts is it did not chart well. I'm thinking if it hit number 20, I would be surprised. Somebody's out there's going to know, but I think in Canada it did not chart that well, but I loved the track. I just loved the whole beat. And then seeing them on Ed Sullivan, and then total Stones fan after that. What else have I got here? The Kinks. You Really Got Me, 1964. Heaviest song I ever heard. I still think it's one of the heaviest songs ever if you speak relatively to the times it came out. I mean, that guitar was just, whoa, right through you. It was unbelievable. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And total Kinks fan. I think this was really the start of what became heavy metal. If you take this and then what the Who did, and then it kind of just got da, and then it finally, clicked after Zeppelin probably, and then went. But man, the Kinks, fantastic. King Crimson, Court of the Crimson King. I had a buddy who had a cottage across from, our families had cottages across from each other. And he used to bring this buddy up there, and this guy used to drive up in a souped up Mustang, like a 67 or something Mustang. Just souped it right up, and had the sound system like just, the best sound system you could put in the car in those days. And he brings this album up, puts it on, we puff a doob, and you hear 21st Century Schizoid Man. Oh my God! Just, I think I need a downer. Leonard Cohen. First Leonard Cohen song I ever heard, Suzanne. But I'm trying to remember if it was the version done by Judy Collins, or the version that was on the radio by a guy named Noel Harrison. Either one. But that was my first introduction to Mr. Cohen. Then the first album I bought would have been Songs from a Room. The second album, and Bird on a Wire. And then it was just like, oh yeah, Leonard, coolest dude. Led Zeppelin. Told this story 100 times, walking into a record store and just seeing this album just released, sitting on a shelf and going, Led Zeppelin, what a name. And the cover, and then seeing those dudes on the back, all the hair and everything. Oh, they look so cool. Then bringing home and putting on Good Times, Bad Times, and just going, oh my God, what is going on? Oh, people were lined up around the block to come to my house and listen to this album. I was the only one who had it. Oh. David Bromberg. A lot of you probably aren't familiar with David. Great acoustic guitar player, great electric guitar player, great session man. name is kind of synonymous with Bob Dylan being Dylan's session guy back in the self-portrait days. But Bromberg had his own band and artist in his own right. Great session guy, like I said. Sitting there with my cousin, middle of the night. We may or may not been under the influence of a mind-altering substance. And underground radio, again, strikes again. This haunting acoustic ballad comes on called Delia. And we're just mesmerized. It's got a bit of harmonica in it, and just the story of this guy who kills his, I don't know, he kills this guy and he kills a girl, and then he gets killed, and the story was just like, we were just like glued to it. And then found out it was David Bromberg, and wow, bought this album and became a huge fan of Mr. Bromberg's. Jimi Hendrix. Cool story. 14 years old, going to grade 9. One of the guys in my class, his name was Steve Pilling. His older brothers, Ed and Brian Pilling, were musicians. They headed over to England to try and get involved in the music business over there in the music scene. Probably 66. And ended up meeting some pretty people that would become pretty big stars. I know they played with Cat Stevens a little bit before he was kind of just getting going. They became friends with Robert Plant. Anyway, they sent home a package to their younger brother Steve, and in it was a 45 by a relatively new band called Jimi Hendrix Experience. And Steve brought the record, the 45, into class, and we got the turntable from the AV department and brought it into the class and played the opening song on that. It was Red House. Before Purple Haze, it was Red House. Man. It was like, and then this album comes out and changed the whole world. Hall & Oates. I'm not a big pop music guy. After about 1972, I didn't pay much attention to the radio. But I loved Hall & Oates. And I heard the song, She's Gone. I'm thinking it was around 1974. And I just loved the vocal performance on that song. It's absolutely incredible. And really became kind of a closet Hall & Oates fan after that. It was like, yeah, it's another Hall & Oates song. I kind of like that. I'm not going to tell anybody, though. Anyway, but She's Gone. It's still my favorite Hall & Oates song. Oh, I got one more. Do I? Yeah, The Who. Now, I'll go back to where I started. I mentioned on the radio show that I heard the acoustic version of The Who doing Happy Jack. So I'm just showing these albums as a prop. I didn't pull out the albums that were synonymous with the song or anything. Happy Jack, another one of those songs, came on the radio. I don't think it charted that well. I don't think it was top 10. But I really dug the song and became a fan of The Who. Then a year later, my absolute favorite Who song of all time, I Can See for Miles. And then the rest is history. They're one of the greatest bands ever. So that's it. That's my trip down memory lane. Let me know if you got how you were introduced to your favorite artists. It'd be interesting to hear. And thanks a lot. Everyone have a happy Sunday.